Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and here we are, the evening before polling day. The board is set, the pieces are moving, as the best book of the 20th century noted. But many Conservatives are not focusing on tomorrow. For a long time, polling day was simply another stepping stone to their actual focus, the leadership contest to replace Rishi Sunak. Their focus is on next week. And according to the Times, Kemi Badenoch, who has been the bookies' favourite for some time, may find herself not even allowed to take part in the contest. She faces a couple of major problems. The first is the obvious one. Labour may beat her in North West Essex. Now, I don't know how likely that is. It's one of those seats which you always get, but I think there are more of them in this election, that are really hard to call based on external data, because MRP polls will say one thing, but locally you know something's going on. You know, you need so much data, including from local sources of indeterminate quality, to make a judgment. But there is a very strong feeling that the result could be close. If Badenoch loses, she obviously cannot challenge for the leadership because she won't be an MP. But even if she wins, it seems that she might not automatically be able to stand either. See, there have been delays in sending out postal votes in dozens of constituencies at this election. In fact, postal voting is a really sore issue in general, and it needs sorting out. Overseas voters have been completely screwed by it. But the chances of getting them out and then back again in time were probably a pipe dream for most living abroad. Setting up a proxy vote with someone you trusted back home was the best bet. What should have happened at the very least, we should have done what some other countries do and allow postal ballots to be sent to embassies in their country of residence. And then they can ship them back via a government chartered aircraft or something. That even this level of thought has been missing when the Conservatives specifically changed the rules to allow all British immigrants abroad to vote this time is just another example of how little the Tories pay attention to their role in government. There is no detail too obvious for them to overlook it. But I digress. North West Essex, Badenoch's constituency. It's one of the areas where a lot of postal ballots have not arrived yet, according to the Times, 2,600 of them. Now, if people did everything they needed to, it's not their fault. They should not be losing their vote as a result. So if Badenoch wins, but by a narrow margin, Labour will be able to challenge the result on the basis that people have been disenfranchised. They've been denied their lawful right to take part in the vote. And this isn't going to be a moral argument, a legal one. Results can actually be set aside when things like this happen. So Labour could demand that a new election takes place, which would mean that even if Badenoch gets more votes when they're counted this Friday, she wouldn't be the MP. If she only wins by, if you've got 2,600 ballots which you know haven't gone out, and she wins by a few hundred votes, then the result could be set aside. North West Essex wouldn't have an MP because the result this week would be legally void. At which point, expect Badenoch to join the calls for Rishi Sunak to hang about a bit as party leader before stepping down. Maybe give it a couple of months, Rishi, mate. A couple of months, yeah. But don't expect those calls to be widely supported. Rishi Sunak will almost certainly resign as leader fairly promptly. The only area of speculation, I think, is does he personally leave immediately with an interim leader in place? Or does he agree to continue as leader until his replacement is chosen? But what I think is almost certain is the contest will begin this month. And if North West Essex is voided, Badenoch will not be an MP, and so she won't be eligible for the contest. She'd be unable by Conservative Party rules to even put herself forward. Now, you might argue, if she has enough support, maybe MPs could change the rules. This is possible. Conservative MPs have a lot of say over the rules of the contest, as we saw with Rishi Sunak's appointments in particular. But would they take the risk? After all, if Badenoch wins a contest too tight to be considered legally secure, given the postal ballot situation, could they be sure she'd win the by-election? Because I've got mixed feelings about her chances in a by-election. On the one hand, because the Tories would be out of power, Labour in power, there would arguably be less reason for local voters, Conservative voters, to stay away from the by-election vote, because they won't feel... I think what's going to go against the Tories a lot in this election is people who are used to voting Conservative will feel that if they vote Conservative, they're voting for what the government have done. So many of them will just stay at home, not feeling they can vote for anyone else, or they'll go out and spoil their ballot. You know, but in a by-election, they won't feel that they're voting in support of the worst government in history because they'll have already been toppled. So that would work in Badenoch's favour. But set against that is the fact that Badenoch is still personally offensive to a lot of progressive voters, not least with her attitudes on trans and even race issues. And the election results this week should show everyone who is the clear tactical vote against her. Now, it is Labour, but Badenoch's major strength has been that for a long time, people didn't really know the tactical vote. Was it Labour or was it the Lib Dems? It was a funny constituency split in two where it wasn't clear. And many may still not realise that it is Labour. They will know on Friday, and they can use that knowledge in the by-election to more effectively focus their tactical vote. Plus, because it's a by-election, Labour will be able to throw the kitchen sink at that contest. The Tories have not been doing well for donations. So I don't know, could be dodgy for the Tories to let her stand for the contest only to see her lose the by-election. And it's not like they'll want to string the leadership contest out beyond the by-election, because they could, you know, as soon as Parliament forms again, they can move the writ for the by-election. The by-election could happen by the end of August. I don't think they want to string the contest out beyond then. So I don't think that'll help them. So even if she wins the tally this Friday, Badenoch could still be frozen out of the leadership contest, for which she is considered the favourite, which of course raises some interesting little dynamics for the future. So let's speculate here. So ideally, Badenoch will just lose. Maybe she will lose a narrow contest, challenge the result herself, so there's still no MP for North West Essex, and then lose the by-election. Doesn't matter, she's no longer an MP, definitely out of the contest. But let us just say that the result is too close to call to be legally valid because of the postal ballots cock-up by the local authorities, and the by-election has to happen. So Badenoch can't replace Sunak, so that poison chalice goes to someone else. But let's say she does win the by-election, so she is once again an MP in, say, 2 months' time. She is likely to be considered the person who would have won the leadership contest. Now, we don't know for certain she's win. She's not like odds-on favourite. This isn't like Boris Johnson in 2019. But she is considered the most likely. And were it not for that cock-up, her supporters would think that she would have been. And we know she's incredibly conceited. So she will definitely feel she's been robbed. I could imagine a scenario where she and her supporters see the actual replacement for Sunak, whoever it is, as a usurper of sorts, albeit not deliberate. They won't blame them. They'll know it's not their fault. But there could be a feeling that Badenoch should have been the leader, and so they're never really going to get back on track until they get their actual leader, feeling that they're just waiting for the time for the usurper to fail and Badenoch installed to her rightful place. Now, obviously, if they believe Badenoch is the one to restore their fortunes, they're not going to want to wait until the following election. That means they will consciously and subconsciously at times seek to find reasons to trigger a leadership contest earlier. That will be made all the more likely if Labour wins the support of the public with its reforms, because the new leader won't be making much ground in the polls. I think it not unlikely that this sort of continued infighting could continue within the Conservative Party, regardless of what happens with Badenoch. But I do think it becomes much more likely if she falls foul of the postal ballots problems in this way. It will pretty much invite the Tories to keep poking at their own open wounds for a while yet. Still, it'll be entertaining for the rest of us, I suppose. In the meantime, please check that if you are heading out to the polling station tomorrow, you have your voter ID sorted. Check it's the right one, link in the description below. Also, book anyone eligible to vote to go out and do the same thing. Oh, I'm not sure if I could be asked. Make sure they have their voter ID. And don't forget that if you're not committed to voting for a particular party or candidate, but you want the Tories to face the consequences for 14 years of the worst government ever, tactical voting from stopthetories.vote will help you, particularly if you're in one of the 80 constituencies singled out in their key seats tab. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.